You built the business. Now, build the man. This is the Ben Price experience.
Hello, Charlotte.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. My first question to every guest is, who are you and why are you here?
Oh my gosh, that's a huge question. I love that. Who are you? Who are you? Still finding out every day.
Yeah.
Why am I here? Oh, we've just been talking about this before we press play or record, that I had a really wild meditation experience a couple of years ago, about 2017. And since that time, I used to think that there's no purpose of being born or whatever, that's you're born, you die, whatever. But actually now I'm a big believer in reincarnation. Never saw that coming. So I do think that the why am I here is to learn, is to be put through this school of life and to show up for the classes. Yeah. And to come away evolved or not.
What a lovely way of putting it. Can you speak some more about that? And I know we were just talking. So Charlotte and I both do TM, which is Transcendental Meditation. We met at Ideas Fest and Charlotte said, I feel like I know you.
Yeah.
So can you speak a bit as to what that was all about? And
yeah, I think there's two streams or two roads of that. I think that when someone's really present and in conversation and not necessarily maintaining eye contact, but just with you, it does feel like you know someone or like you go way back. It's that sort of connection that we have to like a fire, isn't it? And I think that we're so used to being on our devices and distracted and seeing something better and whatever, that when someone gives the alternative actually and is very present like you were, it feels like, oh, we're in connection. And often that has the same resonance as, I feel like I know you. But also the other road of that is that it's funny, since meditating, that I bump into people that meditate. I never heard of TM before, gave it a whirl. And then ever since then, met so many people who do it from all around the world. And it's got that same quality when you meet someone of, oh, I feel like I know you. So it's funny finding that out a sort of week later, wasn't it? Be like, yeah, I meditate. Oh, I do TM.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what that was.
yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So you're the first person I've had on here talking about TM. I want to get my teacher on at some point.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So I don't know if this is the same as you, but I think people hear me talk about TM and think, oh, it's just another, meditation. And I really struggle.
Oh, struggle.
I can't do it. I can't meditate. And I was like that. Like I definitely tried every single meditation under the sun.
Yeah.
You're the same?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like, it's not for me. I don't get why they're saying just relax at the end of a yoga class. I don't get it. What's everyone doing? Like, don't you still have that chatter? Those car alarms going off in the back of your brain.
Yeah. So how would you describe TM? Like, how would you describe it to somebody who doesn't really have a clue what it is? And I know you weren't really here to talk about TM, but this is what we're talking about. No,
it's funny, isn't it? That's okay. But I think it's all linked in a funny way. The way that I've described people before is it's like you close your eyes, you're sinking into a hot, warm, like bath, and it feels like all of the car alarms that have been going on for years just turn off.
Nice.
That's the biggest feeling that I had. So I remember where you kind of do like a primer, don't you, of like, let's just do it for 30 seconds when you first learn. And I remember opening my eyes and looking at my teacher, and she goes, I know. And I was just like, there's an option for this to turn off. And that I just found crazy. And then I was just hooked. Yeah. Totally hooked.
That's hilarious.
But that's how I describe it. I think it felt very different to every other meditation. Felt really cerebral, especially things like headspace and whatever. It felt very much like I still have to be there, but this was just like this separate. And it was just
you have to try, don't you, with all those
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
effort involved, and there's no effort with in fact, the most almost the annoying thing is the
Yeah.
more effort you try and put in, as we were just talking about,
100%.
the harder it actually becomes. So
Yes. Yeah. And
yeah.
that's me as a high achiever.
Yes.
That's why you can lose
Yeah.
that connection. I think that's like anything, isn't it? If you put too much effort in, it's like presence, you know. Equally, I met a lot of people at Ideas Fest who put too much effort in, and you actually walk away going, gosh, that's a lot in terms of trying to connect with someone. So they're
Mm.
very, you know, asking lots of questions or saying your name lots of times, all the things that you kind of read in the books of how to be a good speaker and the YouTube videos and all that sort of thing. So it's really nice when people just we say in acting and performance, leave yourself alone. And that sounds very abstract, but that's basically the quality of like, just don't try so hard. Just lean back a little bit. Let it happen.
Leave yourself alone. What do you mean by
Yeah.
that?
I think that's the cut the effort out, cut the over intellectualizing it. So when
Mm.
performers, there's this magic part where, because my background is in theatre directing, where
Right.
you've been rehearsing a script for however long, and the actors have gotten to the stage where they've learnt it. And then they stand up and they're doing their performance, and then suddenly they just go blank because they're now going into that flow state rather than thinking so much, you know, oh, what's that word? I've got to remember this, yada, yada. They're now just being. And so normally that's where the kind of text just drops out of their butt. And it happens for speakers as well. So there are a lot of speakers who do presentations and things like that, and they get up there and think, I've got to try, I've got to be live and whatever. And then when they stop trying and they just trust, that's where really cool stuff happens. But it also is where potentially you can have mind blank and things like that, because you then start becoming aware of it, like, oh, I'm really enjoying this, I'm really in flow. Where am I? What was I saying? Yeah. Yeah, so it all fits in.
It's interesting that you mentioned the word being there.
Oh yeah, has that been
So,
playing on your mind?
well, that's kind of what I help people with. So I help people really, this is not what I say publicly, but I help people understand who they're being and how it's creating the results that they're experiencing in their life.
That's really interesting. Where did you find that aha moment? Did you find that for yourself, thinking, oh, I'm being someone, or I'm performing being someone?
Hmm. Not like a big aha moment, just lots of little ones, but the concept came to me through a friend who recommended a book called The Ultimate Coach,
The
which is,
ultimate I'm going to write this
yeah,
down.
this is it's one of my favorite books actually. It's sort of one that I reread a couple of times a year now, at least, and listen to on Audible. And when I first read it, if anyone's going to read it who's listening to this, if you'll read it and you'll think, why the hell am I reading this? It's a story about this coach called Steve Hardison, and it's just a story about his life. And the first part of the book, I almost put it down. I was almost like, I don't really understand why he's told me to read this, and I almost got rid of it. And then I get to the second half where he talks about some of the sort of stories of his clients, and it's unbelievable some of the things that have happened. And
Wow.
and then when you're the actual way you're supposed to read the book is you're supposed to read the back cover where it says, who would you need to be to have an amazing life, to be in an amazing relationship, to be successful in your career, to be present, to all of these states of being, or be an amazing father, right? And then there's the front two pages. So you're supposed to, every time you pick up the book, you're supposed to read the back and the front two pages, and you're not reading it about him, you're reading it about you.
Wow. Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
That's
So
actually really fascinating in terms of what we've been just talking about meditation, because that's the kind of idea of like quantum leaping as well, right? Who do I get to leave behind in order
yeah,
to progress? And we
you can
noticed
create
that
it.
when, I don't know about you, but like that's where the addiction to travel came for me, or like living in a new country. It was like, well, I'm just gonna cut all the kind of
Oh yeah, definitely
ties.
experienced that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's no stakes. No one knows you. You can not be whoever you want to be, but it's easier to shift that idea of self. Because there's a lot of that in my work where people go, oh, I'm shy, or I'm just not a good speaker. I'm just not as articulate. Yeah.
Which are all states of being.
Yeah.
Which are all creations.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So they're all creations, and not only are they creations, that person is creating it in the minds of other people, whoever they're speaking to, and then it will get reflected back to them because they were the one who created it. And so this is what I had, was like, oh, I'm creating this and I'm creating that.
Yeah.
And I had already done like all the mindset work, like I'd read all the quotes, like I understood all the mindset stuff, but I still wasn't being. I was just understanding the mindset, and I'd be like, and then I'd get frustrated because I'd be like, but I know this, but I'm not doing it and I'm not being it. Like when you understand who you're being, the being creates your thinking, and then the thinking creates your feeling, and the feeling creates your action.
Yes, absolutely. Gosh, that's so funny, isn't it? I hadn't thought of it in that way before, but that identity shift and actually disturbing who I think I am. I'm going to butcher this quote now, but it's something like, I'm not who I think I'm not who I think I am. I am who I think you think I am.
Yeah.
And I had a similar aha moment of, I put it slightly differently, but you teach people how to treat you. And there was just a couple of aha moments where it was like, okay, I'm just going to dysregulate this and see for now how that can change. And people's reactions change. So it's really interesting, all of that work, even though it feels quite abstract at the time. It's very similar actually to performance. There's a lot of that sort of language.
Right. Yeah, because you're stepping into new states of being. You are performing, but I'm trying to get everyone away from performing, ironically, and then into who their authentic state of being is. And when they start being there, they start being more powerful, they start being more aligned. Like for me, so Charlotte, if we haven't really spoken about this, but Charlotte's a speaking coach. Yeah.
Help people to speak with confidence.
Helping people to speak with confidence. So one of my states of being, when I what used to be that I wasn't, all of those things. I was like, I'm not a very good speaker. I could never speak on stage.
Wow.
But now one of my states of being is I am a powerful, confident speaker. So that's part of my declarations.
Oh, I love
and
that
so
declaration.
Because I've got so whenever I need to speak in front of people, I start feeling nervous or excited, I just repeat that declaration. I'm like, reminder, you are a powerful, confident speaker. You are a powerful, confident. And then I don't know if you know this, but I got to speak at Ideas Fest.
Oh yeah, you did. I can't remember what the tent was called, but
in the landscape tent.
How great!
Yeah, and that was completely random.
Wow. Yeah, but that's what starts to also happen when you have that declaration, and when you say things like that to yourself or out loud. That I noticed this with clients. There was someone a little while ago. We do sometimes in a session that sort of visualizing the future self, or like, what if you could be that person that you aspire to be? And if that's a bit too difficult right now, let's just make them a blurry image of yourself or whatever, and watch them on the cinema screen. And then we talk about the sorts of things that they're doing. So it's like, well, when they get up in the morning, they don't snooze their alarm, or they get up and they put themselves first in this way, and but also how they're speaking on stage. Well, actually, I could see myself a little bit taller, and etc. But we put actual goals, things like, oh, I'm speaking on podcasts or whatever. And it's eerie how many people, they either fall into two camps, and I've seen it time and time again. Either after that exercise, the week after that, they get ill because it's like a rejection of that, and it's normally around the throat or in the chest. Or they have someone give them they say an opportunity's come and I've just said yes, so it'll be in a couple of months' time or something. And sometimes they are word for word what they've said out, that declaration, what they've said out loud. So one client once said, I don't know, there's something that I was seeing around like meeting royalty or something, like the Prince's Trust or that sort of thing, shaking hands. And that was a really vivid image. A week later, out of the blue, they had an email from someone saying, we'd love to invite you along to the Prince. She said, I didn't even apply for any of
Wow.
this. So it's really powerful. And it might sound a bit woo, but I do also think it's part of the reticular activating system in the brain where it's like, actually, I'm going to look out for those opportunities rather than just blinker ourselves away from them.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting.
I think that's a useful, like, I use that a lot because if it's starting to feel a bit too like, oh, it's too spiritual and whatever. Yeah. Well, you don't see things as they are, you see things as you are.
Yes, totally.
So if you are looking for a white car because you're thinking about buying a white car, you see white car everywhere. So yeah, same as the speaking gigs. And yeah.
And it's the same with your audience a lot of the time. So it's a very funny exercise that I do with people, but a client might say something like, oh, everyone's going to think, who are they to talk about this? Or they're going to screw up their face. And a lot of the times they'll do an impression of that social cue, which is, disgust or confusion or whatever. So I can work with that then and say, well, why don't we train the brain to look for the alternatives, just again for fun. So I'll play, there's some stock videos that you can get of audiences and they're just looking up at you and they're laughing and clapping and whatever. And actually just doing your presentation to them, even though it's an image. Yeah, they don't really know. You can't tell the difference, or you can do it with your eyes closed, but sometimes we need that external stimulus to just go, oh, what does that look like? Where someone's wide-eyed. Oh yeah, that's a social cue of interest, or nodding, affirming, or leaning back, or taking in an inhale. Sometimes we forget what those are, so we don't look for them. And then we just think, well, that hypervigilance is going to keep me really safe, looking at all the disgust and the whatever. That's why gathering around a fire is quite interesting, because you don't really, with the shadows that are thrown, you don't really pick up on those things. And this is such a central beacon of attention. So you kind of have your attention on other people, knowing that they're there. But really the fire is the main influence. Yeah. And it changes the image.
I've seen that in action. So I don't know if I told you this, but I run men's camps.
Yeah.
And I probably will run a women's one at some point next year, by the way. Because I get loads of women who want to come. They want to come and sit around the fire and have the kind of conversations that I'm having with men. And men are tricky to get there, whereas women seem to want to really be there. Anyway, like, I've seen it happen so many times where somebody wants to say something and they're just one lad, his father had taken his own life about 4 months prior to the camp, and I knew he wanted to talk about it, but he hadn't said anything in like our first kind of fire circle. And so we went off. We had a little swim in a pond, in a bit more than a pond, a lake. And I said to him, I said, do you want me to like create the space for you to be able to speak? And he said, yes, please. And so I did it. And he just looked straight into the fire.
Yeah.
And he spoke quite fluently, I would say, for 10 minutes, 15 minutes about it and how he was feeling about it and everything. And and no one was looking at him. So I looked up and looked around and no one was looking at him. Everyone was looking into the fire, and it was just,
wow.
It was really powerful at the moment.
It's so powerful.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Because we really do feed off that attention. The speaking, the reason why why some people have the fear of death is because that would have been the worst case scenario in kind of tribes and whatever. If you're not offering value when you speak, i.e. around the campfire, when, you know, you can't go hunting, etc., and you're not sharing something of value, then you're a drain on the economy of the tribe. So you're not useful. And so we still think in those kind of spaces. When we look at our audience, it's very challenging, and it's actually quite recent. If we really think of it, we would be around fire, or we'd be side by side hunting, or, you know, wouldn't be so direct, but we're seeing all of it. And now it's even worse on things like Zoom, because we're constantly able to check ourselves and how we're coming across. It's exhausting.
I'm over there, and I'm really conscious to not look over there.
It's funny though, isn't it? And there was a study, I can't remember who did it, whether it was Harvard, during COVID, but apparently women were more likely to have a look at their own faces and measure, how engaged do I look? How am I coming across? Am I nodding? And all of this sort of thing. And it was exhausting for them, because the other thing is that the distance that we have here is around, like, just over sort of 20 centimeters, I think. And at that proximity to someone's face, you either think you're going to be punched or kissed. So in a meeting with your colleagues, it's probably really disconcerting the whole time, thinking like, you know, am I doing well enough, whatever. So switching off your cameras, I think, just became a really comfortable place, because they were like, I can't deal with it. Yeah, so that's all been quite interesting to combat as well, and get people familiar with in a new way. But yeah, campfires are brilliant communicating.
Amazing. What are your top tips for somebody who is going to do a speech, going to do a talk, talking in front of people? Like, I love that kind of practice in front of a live audience I'm going to use that, actually. Yeah.
Well, good. Yeah. I think to make the rehearsal environment as similar as the final environment is my biggest tip.
Okay.
So if you're, one thing that I've noticed is, I've been to a couple of weddings in recent years, and I'm very aware that the celebrant, or rather the registrar, or whoever is kind of taking the officiant, is very quiet sometimes. And I'm thinking, you're not necessarily measuring your voice to the space. So if you're rehearsing and you're by your desk and you're kind of cramped like this and reading the script and going, right, okay, so I'm going to talk like this and blah, 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 that is nowhere near the energy level that you're going to need to fill a space. So getting up as soon as you can is the best thing for that final outcome, because you'll start building vocal resilience and stamina. For some people, they actually realize, I'm exhausted, and they realize how much energy it takes. So then they have to look after themselves a bit better. So that's one of them, is get up and start speaking in an environment that can echo that final speaking environment. The other thing that I tell every client to do is babble. So babbling is a way of scripting your work without writing anything down. Now, I'm not saying you don't have to write anything down, but what people tend to do is they sit at their laptop, write this perfect word for word, and they get really lost in the vocabulary and like, oh, what's the perfect way to say this? Now, unless you're a performer, that's not going to work, because you're not trained in how to lift text from the page. Your written voice is so different to your spoken voice. So what you might find is, it's fine to write variable or variability, but when you start speaking it doesn't feel comfortable. So you might have to change that word. And if you're noticing that then and there, where you're reading your script for the first time out loud, it's going to feel like, oh no, I've messed up, and the audience are aware, and I'm supposed to be perfect, and all those pressures that we have on ourselves. So babbling is basically going for a walk, driving your car safely, putting your recorder on your phone, your voice notes or whatever, and just speaking it out loud. Thinking about, okay, I'm going to a networking event. I'm driving there, and hi, I'm Charlotte. Oh, it's really nice to meet you. Yeah, I do things like this. Well, would I say it like this? Oh, maybe I'll do this, blah, blah, blah. So you're kind of verbally journaling.
Do you know what? I do this all the time.
Great. You speak it out loud.
Yeah, awesome. I do it all the time. When I'm on my walks.
So now we've got headphones, right? If you are,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. I bloody trot around the place, and I'm like, well, like I don't care anymore. It comes from years of doing it. But you can pop your headphones in and
Yeah.
just walk as if you're on the phone. But you'll probably notice, do you notice sensations come into the body when you start doing it? Like, especially if it's higher stakes or something, you're thinking, oh, I really want to do a good job.
Yeah.
Even speaking it out loud, you feel those sensations, right? Of, well, I feel this tightness or this little bit of stress.
Yeah. You just get it out.
Yes. And then
Yeah.
you can, one of the things that hung round from my yoga teacher training for a long time was my teacher said that we're in a controlled stress environment. So it's a safe environment to be put under stress because nothing's really going to happen if you're balancing on one leg on a mat with everyone else. You fall over and you laugh. But the trick is actually, it's not anything about that position, really. It's about how you deal with that stress. So you practice dealing with stress. Then when you go out into the real world,
Yeah.
your nervous system goes, oh, we've got a rubbish email, or you trip on a step. Well, with yoga, you've kind of learned how to absorb that stress and think, well, I can deal with it. The same thing goes for babbling, because if you trip over your words and you're in a safe environment, you think, oh, well, that's not so bad. If you do that for the first time in front of other people, you think the world has ended. So there's 2 tips there that I would say. The last one, you never have as much time as you think you do to rehearse, so don't cram.
Right.
Think of it like trying to get a 6-pack. You're not going to go to the gym for a day and get a 6-pack. You're going to go if you go for however many months and you show up little and often. It's like brushing your teeth, isn't it? So I would say, look at where I'm looking at my calendar on the wall as I say this. Look at where your speaking opportunity is and just break it down. So think, how many times do I want to rehearse? Well, I want to put in 5 hours. Okay, could I divide that into 20 minutes? Great. Where do I scatter that? How can I habit stack that? Could I put it every time I walk the dog, I'm going to do a babble. Then every time I walk the dog, I'm going to do a little rehearsal or whatever. Every time I put the kettle on, I'm going to do that. But putting it in the little and often is way more effective than just cramming, which I see all the time. People go, I've got a presentation next week. And I'm like, call me a month ago. Then we can do these are habits that have been with us for like 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah. How important is like doing some of that? By the way, before I ask that question, I just want to say I was ready at Ideas Fest because I was like ready to deliver it.
Because of the babbling?
Because of the babbling. Yeah.
You are my perfect testimonial. This is great. It's being ready to be ready. And this also is a manifestation technique again. So there's lots of these different, it's like, being that, who would I need to be? Well, I need to be the type of person.
Need to be ready.
Yes, I need to be ready. Absolutely. Because you had a perfect pitch ready to go.
Yeah.
You're like, this is what I was talking about. This was the framework. And I thought, he's not just come up with that.
No. Yeah. That's been many years of thought.
Yeah.
But not that long of knowing my framework, to be fair. Like that's probably this year. And then I did my first talk maybe 6 months ago. Like, so I've only delivered that 4 times, and that would have been the 4th.
But I love how you said you've only delivered that 4 times.
Yeah.
Most people put so much pressure on themselves, and this is the one and done. So they don't look for, so this is actually like a little bonus tip. Look for the spaces where you can practice outside of the rehearsal room, like you said, being ready to be ready. So lots of people do things like, oh, I'm going to book this big talk, and they actually don't foster the path towards that. So if I wanted to learn to swim in open waters, in really rough seas, I'd probably start in a swimming pool. Then I'd start in a lake. Then I'd start in, a controlled environment where there was a little bit of poor weather in the lake or whatever. And then I would swim in the rough seas. Or it's those building blocks. A lot of people jump and then they terrify themselves. So they never want to go back in the water. And I think that's something that happens with speaking. And that's where we get people on beta blockers and stuff like that, because they had such terrible experiences, which is a real shame. But yeah, you've exactly emulated the path that I would suggest.
Maybe I should become a speaking confidence coach.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So what I was going to say was, how important is doing some of the deeper work? So you've given like some really like practical things there, but what about some of that deep stuff that actually needs to be
So some
resolved?
of the kind of self-development world.
Yeah, like any childhood trauma, or like, do you
Yes.
delve into any of that kind of stuff? Like,
It's interesting because it is all tied together. I often say to people, this work is therapeutic, even though it's not therapy. There's a lot of tears in my sessions. There's lots of confronting the scary monsters in the closet that you might not have confronted before. And I'm very keen to bring those out and go, look, they're only a paper tiger. But I do think it's funny, it's a little bit like chicken and the egg, which one comes first? Sometimes doing this work can give you a hunger for the other work and vice versa. So if we do the work on self-development and trauma and exploration, you've got some really interesting stuff to talk about and share, if that's your bag. If you start doing this work and I'm saying, let's look at your breathing here, what do you think that when you're talking about this, did you notice that the breath was very high and shallow and whatever? Then we start observing ourselves and thinking, actually, there's the iceberg under the surface that I've never really paid attention to. And I'm not afraid to speak in those terms as well. I'm very much, I don't, as a theatre director, I never wanted the surface level performance. I always wanted to go deeper. And that is asking the difficult questions. It's letting the actor have autonomy over their performance. It's pushing them for a bit of a deeper performance. I could tell people all day, stand there, move your hand there, speak like this, walk this way, whatever. But to me, that's not real confidence. That comes from confronting the difficult things of vulnerability and courage, and finding the areas where you can sort of elbow into those spaces even more and think, gosh, I've done something that I'm really proud of. That also connects to self-esteem, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not I could definitely just do fake it till you make it, stand here, lean up against this thing, talk on this line. But that to me is not directing.
not really transformative. So you're really you're doing that deep work as a coach, really.
I hope so. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, we'll check with the clients.
proof's in the pudding when they can be there and confident delivering a talk.
Yeah, I do think there's big identity shifts. There was a client who, what's really lovely is I hear the same thing every time, and I try not to say this is the guarantee of what you'll feel, but to go from fear to fun is my goal. So a lot of people kind of send me a message and they go, I'm actually feeling really excited. Is that weird? I'm like, no, that's what we want.
Progress.
Yeah. It's like, that'll be good. But for some people, there's two different groups of people. There's the ones who are absolutely terrified of this work. And then there's the people who have gained some confidence, have, people maybe like yourselves who've trod the path a little bit more, have some techniques under their belt. Now they're looking for things like, okay, how can I really flourish? How can I have an exciting understanding of language or intention or punctuation or rhythm, storytelling, all of that sort of world. So there's two clients really that I work with, the people who are terrified and looking to turn that fear into fun, and the people who are looking to now finesse.
That makes sense. And I think it's worth saying, I don't know if I've said this, but I was fucking terrified.
Really? So you've already done that chapter?
Definitely.
Yeah. Wow. Do you know when, or what were some of the thoughts that kept you stuck there? And what was the one that was like, okay, I'm just going to do this now? Because obviously you said about that connected to that book.
I think, to be honest, it's just like worrying about what other people think of me, and not, but because I didn't know who I was.
Ah, right. So it was
Now
in hands.
It's what? Sorry.
It was in their hands. You being validated as a person was kind of in their.
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah, or just fear of standing out. It wasn't conscious. It's nothing
No.
or subconscious stuff. But I think you don't. There's a great coach who I follow. I can't remember his name, Julian something. And
Oh yes, yeah.
do you know him? And he's like,
his last name.
You've got horrible blue hair.
Yeah.
Your blue hair is fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
And how do you feel? And they're like, I don't feel anything. And he's like, exactly.
Yes.
And
so all the things that we fear.
Yeah. And now you're a terrible speaker. How do you feel?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's actually.
Or you're a terrible father.
Yeah. It's actually quite interesting because I think a lot of us are really afraid of having that online. And recently I had something, and it was totally warranted for the person to have their opinion. But I'd used AI in an image, and they said, I'm really disappointed in that. And we had a conversation about that.
This
and and I thought, well, actually, you still don't get to decide who I am. It might be hypocritical that I'm using AI here, but I also really believe in things like artificial intelligence to support accessibility. So I'm using like captions as AI, and we all use captions. So I also thought, okay, this could be one of those points where I go, I'm never going to use this again, and this is terrible and whatever. But actually, I do think it should be regulated rather than completely, that's it, baby out with the bathwater and whatever. But I really appreciate that other people had their opinion. It's actually quite liberating when you're confronted with that, because I don't think I'd had anything really negative up until that point. And I thought, well, this is actually really good. I needed this.
Because you're grounded in who you are and you're not bothered. It's like, you've got blue hair. You're like, no, don't have blue hair.
And I'm actually really pleased they have those opinions. I'm like, good for you.
In fact, this software that we're recording this on has some AI that crops it up, and there was a button and it said animate. You can animate yourself, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna click.
Wow!
And I became a panda bear. And I just posted it. There was no context around it. I just posted it, and I just thought it would be funny.
Yeah.
And one of my mates was like, I was waiting. Like, he was watching it. He was like, I was waiting for the punchline of why you were a panda bear, and I watched it like 3 times and there was just nothing. And then someone else messaged me and said, oh, you really shouldn't be an AI,
it is one of those. Yeah, it's one of those areas. And I guess I really understand it because there's a lot in voice. There's been that TikTok voice for years.
What's the TikTok voice?
Oh, where it's, oh gosh, I can't even remember the tone of it now because I think people don't use it so much anymore. But it was, oh yeah, like reading out my Christmas cards to my dogs or whatever. And it was like really like grated on me because I thought, well, this is really sad because there's amazing voice actors out there and all that sort of thing. And there's now performers that are AI, and there's someone that posted, there was a magazine and it was something around beauty and all of the models are AI. And I thought that, obviously that's terrible. But yeah, I think it's going to be one of those make or break moments, and yeah, it's sort of hiding in plain sight a lot of the time, isn't it? There's lots of things that are AI, but it's one of those spicy topics. But again, we have to know who we are in order to, me a couple of years ago, maybe 10 years ago, would have just gone, oh, I can't be visible online anymore. This is terrible. I've made a mistake. And I really would have felt the sting of that and thought, oh, I can't do this. But now I'm hearing all the other side of that, which is, I hope I'm really helping people with talking about this stuff and sharing certain things online. Like for me, the image that I used, the AI, was me and my younger self. And that was very kind of, whoa, and listen, if there was an artist out there commissioning those pictures and doing it, I would probably have paid to do that. But I just didn't, it's just so instantaneous, isn't it? But yeah, I think it's too push our evolution in an interesting way, AI.
Mm. And also, I think, like, what I suppose part of the reason I wanted to get you on here and talk to you is because I think what you're doing is really important, because it's enhancing human to human connection, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
like the ability to actually be able to communicate from a stage with other people. Like,
Yeah.
everyone can see you. There's no AI.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
that's
it.
almost going to be one of the last kind of ways we can do it, because even this podcast is going to be clipped by AI. The voice is going to be enhanced a little bit.
Yes.
You know, you can even fix the eye contact to make sure
Oh,
that you're not picking
that
it there.
spins me out. Because I think I did it once and I looked like a Neanderthal. For some reason, it just kind of changed where I was, and I was like, wow, this is really weird. But
No, I
that's
won't click that
a really
button.
interesting one as well, because I say to people, actually making eye contact, because there's a lot around, it makes you look more powerful and whatever. And I'm like, well, think about the last person who sustained eye contact for the entire conversation. Did it make you feel like they were powerful or just kind of
Yeah.
crazy? And of course, again, when it comes to access, if you're autistic, that can be a challenge. Or if I'm dyspraxic, so I look to the other kind of mind whiteboard, if you like, to just formulate my thoughts before I deliver them. So maintaining eye contact is too much stimulation coming from the other person to me. But yeah, you're right. Just on the human connection thing, I lived in China for a little while just before the pandemic. I actually had COVID when I was out there before anyone knew what it was. And I recognized that everything was faceless, voiceless. We had QR codes on the tables. That's how you ordered. There was no connection between people. There was nothing in the street. It was just live your own life, order online, very much in your own silos. And I was headhunted to work with families and work on emotional intelligence and their connections with their kids. And these families were very wealthy. And I thought, okay, we're in a country that has nailed that point-to-point B2B or B2C consumer. You have everything that you want. I could have ordered an Arctic fox online with one click of a button. Wild. You have everything you want, and yet this is the new frontier. So when I came home, that really stuck with me. The fact that human connection was actually where they were going, the Chinese, and looking to develop that. So I do think it's kind of crazy that other countries are kind of catching up on that emotional intelligence. They're not really even there. They're just looking to perpetuate the technology and the money and whatever, like Trump having a meeting with all the heads of tech companies like Apple and I forget the other one. But yeah, they were all around a dinner table and it was like, we're going to be the AI frontier. And I just thought, you're actually going to do your citizens a massive amount of harm, I think, because loneliness, as they've said, is more harmful than cigarettes. 15 cigarettes a
That's
day.
come up a lot on this podcast. Yeah.
Oh yeah, really? Like, oh, I hope they don't disprove it now or something, because it's very compelling.
Well, the thing is, I stopped smoking and I stopped drinking, and then I stopped going to the pub. And so then I've become more lonely.
More lonely. So then you
what was the fucking point?
It might as well be bloody smoking. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because I find the smoking area really interesting, where people go, oh, I'm going to go have a cigarette. To me, that's coming out of the environment, and you have loads of really good conversations because you can hear each other. So it's quite interesting that a lot of smokers, I don't think it's about the smoking.
No.
It's about coming out and connecting with people, having a chat. And normally they chat with strangers because they've got this permission slip of a cigarette where it's like, oh, it's okay to talk because we've got this cigarette. Can I borrow a lighter? Blah, blah, blah. Happens when you have dogs, doesn't it? When you go for a dog walk, the amount of people, oh yeah, what's his name? It's like a permission slip. So yeah, I did come back from China thinking I need to do something very different. What are the favorite parts of my work? As a director, I loved being able to do it as much as possible. And then when I started working one-to-one, it was also because this was the stuff that helped me. I had a crisis of confidence. And And I thought, how am I going to get out of this hole? And I used all of the techniques that I would use with someone else and just had that declaration again and that discipline, and it worked.
Wow. Awesome. I feel like we could keep talking for a long time, but I'm conscious of the time. I've got to go and do some stuff. I've got to go have an interview with somebody. So I would love to have another conversation with you if that's okay.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah.
That'd be so fun. Yeah, we've scratched the surface.
I know, we hadn't talked about masculinity.
Oh my gosh, of course.
We haven't talked about this crisis that you've had. I want to know more about this.
We could go into it.
Anyway, lovely to speak to you. Thanks for all your nuggets. And how would somebody get in touch with you? Like if they want to...
Yes, there's a couple of different ways. I'm on LinkedIn as Charlotte Lewis.
Mhm.
You'll see me on most of my platforms with a megaphone peeping out of a red curtain. It's the whole theatre and speaking malarkey. And you can contact me on Instagram. I'm at Charlotte Speaking Confidence, but also www.charlotte-lewis.co.uk is my website. And there you can book free calls and things like that. Just get to learn a little bit more about what it is I do and how I do it with people. But yeah, they're all the kind of main channels, really.
Great. Awesome. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
See you, bye. You've been listening to the Ben Price Experience. These conversations are not just entertainment. They are also an invitation to confront the truth about what you are experiencing in life right this moment. An opportunity to upgrade your standards, to lead from a more powerful, grounded place. If some of these messages hit home, then maybe it is time to go deeper into who you are and who you are being. For men, I run a camp called the CEO Camp Out, or Campochi. You might have heard of me refer it to. You can find it at www.ceocampout.com. This is time off grid with other men who are refusing mediocrity. We ditch our phones. We be honest about what's going on in our lives. We connect with one another. We have delicious food, fire, hiking, playing around in the woods. It's really, really powerful, relaxing experience. You'll get challenged in a positive way, but you'll walk away from it the most clear you've probably ever been in a long time, and the most relaxed you've ever been in a long time. So check out the website, ceocampout.com. And if you want to inquire as to how to work with me, just drop me a message at Coach Ben Price, and I'd love to just connect with you if you've been impacted by anything in the podcast. Not necessarily to work with each other, but just to connect, just to help in any way and serve in any way that I can. All right, lots of love and thanks for listening. Please make sure you subscribe to the podcast. It really helps us elevate. If you would leave a comment as well, that would be amazing, and share it with somebody who you think would be impacted by the message in this episode. All right, lots of love. See you soon.